Hello, humanity. This is about how my name is Anthony Wall. I am an expert on the nature of English grammar. And this has not been let voice, proper, free speech, and science true always, not denying exceptions and being led by one exception/exception nature. That its identity of its relationship to itself and the value of that is a scientific value. That is each identity of value progression individually grouped and together. And that which came, the identity of value progression that is associated with the value with an added that it has that identity of value progression, such as that which came before us. For example, the years before us, with our experience here and now, and identity of ground relationships, and perceptions and communications through and as what has only communicated through tactically worse than forsaken, while each modern nation is a victim of what this semi-ancient trap knew they would only be able to self-value, blaming other things, others themselves, the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, which is this native identity's identity of the ground relation to itself, which is with no criminal foreign influences. The rest of space nature has no criminal foreign influences. All the other species. And if they do, it's through us. It's just took so long because we're just such a only one species. We're not using that its identity of relationship to itself. We're not using its identity as a scientific variable, which God is involved with, lowercase g or capital. We're not sure. Capital is when this is what we're speaking about, will we agree and can discern or are demonstrating is temporary positive that is also lasting positive. But this is onto 5 identities of sequence nature. And this is important because of how one identity is equal to itself while simultaneously being unequal to itself. To discern this, you have to discern how it is an identity of sequence nature. This is an identity of value/value progression, that the value of the order of physics and that the value of the order of metaphysics and that the value of the order of identity itself has simultaneously, distinctly, non-distinctly, simultaneously, and sequentially in demonstration of this. So we have each complete identity, no matter who you are, no matter what you believe. You are simultaneously a group and a species, 3 natures of volume. Where you are a complete identity of volume, you are simultaneously a semi-nature. Because this identity that has our engineering as itself, as its system, distinctly and non-distinctly onto Earth, is our distinct and non-distinct relationship to it. The identity that all identities of value progression individually grouped and together share. That which is making more temporary/lasting space nature. Now, English was revealed by the ancients. Well, we couldn't have afforded proper understanding of the ancients since semi-ancient times since before the births of modern religions. Messengers, thank God for them. Damn, damage control, and preservation of through the of what took away what that which had been revealed about how to cause evolution's fruits and gifts, actually by the ancients and before criminally foreign influenced internation sciences. They valued internation sciences. They knew when we were evaluating individual nation sciences, group nation sciences, and the species sciences together, it is simultaneously that's what causes evolution and its fruits and gifts. And they knew also and understood also when they knew that one of the ways you know when we're doing it simultaneously is it's individual rights first in sequence. And this gets to how. So it's like the shared identity of volume that made it. We have to understand this before matter was bonded. This is why the beginning of the Old Testament is telling us to write this part here. That's what it says. And it says the only all you have to understand is up to the part right in the beginning. See, but they have people making treatments of positive here and there. All modern religions lost fact treatment nature. All locations, areas, and states are manifest as identities of locations, identities of everything, every identity treatment involved in a semi-ancient trap that knew the real invested everyone to roles, not realizing the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, which are in demonstration of that and how Earth's difference to the rest of space nature, where evolution comes from. Most probably it is because we are closest to the greatest inherent nature of volume, where the inherent, active, and progressive are three manifest identities of volume as the identity of forevers. That as a scientific value, at least what we could agree is all temporary. Everything is temporary slash lasting, space nature. And science reveals further, though, how this is true. But we have offensively, since ancient times, all victims taking evidential reception, taking multi-front, tied to misprision lie progressions. I'm not a lawyer, not police form, not criminal, not military. This boxings. The sciences share this identity sequentially, differentially, only. So it is five identities of truth. The one. See, we have readings of laws originally instilled, and then justifications of that, and then defense of that, further and further. And it wasn't just that. All that was maintained manifest like that. This is where they have human fact treatment nature engineered with all identity of the ground locations, areas, and states in collusion with what keeps work. Again, the real cause of negative value progressive acts like predicate acts associated with criminal enterprises, interstates, internations, and before that, from some ancient times, archetypal criminal enterprise. This is most probably what modern religions are about together. But we don't have that allowed discerned because they have all engineered originally and still motivations, other needs to value that in them in everyone's selves and in others. Needs to keep the real cause of negative value nature, progressive acts, nature, blame all other things, others ourselves. needs to keep anyone who could just simply state, we have forsaken areas in this trap for since before our founders were born. With overt, you have overt slavery on laws. Everyone's a slave. Even if you want to debate stuff like that, they only put people debating dishonestly, not by accident. No one ever so no one ever gets reliefs. So all we have to do is have mandated law followed. People won't let anyone speak for others. People won't let us speak for themselves because of this method. That's writing all fake recorded things in databases through time. And when you sustain that in conjunction with racketeering acts, very subtle with kids, some ways overt. It's overt and subtle, but it's because it's with the branch of the government already criminally foreign influence roles. The fighting with nations in what they call peaceful context, with sanctions treatments, in relationship to organized crime, needs to counter criminal seditious natures, needs to counter all kinds of mass wrongdoers, styles of logic racketeering. That's inclusion originally instilled with the formal logic racketeering. All kinds of natures of racketeering bonded with them, all private tied to them, especially medical, because of their uses of databases, their uses of wire crime methods, mail crime methods, identity thefts, frauds, roles, identity frauds, identity racketeering. And they sustain this. They're preventing free speech, lying about what's actually recorded with areas, with all locations, areas, and states. Already did this right through administrations. CNN recorded, confessed, and demonstrated has the roles with prosecutors and with judges. They use a crime method of preventing the mandated law while they know has been stacked, and they're stacking more and more human trafficking acts, racketeering for pretended things recorded by police in the databases that never were. Since before the World Trade Center attack, the same ones involved intercities, interbranch from my town, intercampuses of each age and nature. So it becomes a whole bunch of names that have been pretending to be the fake locations. All exceptions recorded themselves. They can't speak about it because they're recorded criminally foreign influence. Exploited that way. You may pray. That's what they do. They stack fake conversations every single day of your life in relationship to their maintenance of criminally foreign influence interages of fact. I caught them even with proven crimes with proven sex offenders. They were recorded with more worse then and now on off campus with them. Weathersfield police chief's family, whole bunch of people tied to him, his extended family member. They make people hate you because they want you to speak. They want to pretend you had. They need that because of the interbranch. They use their locations to forge names, switch names. They make confessions. Then they attach you to more and more fake words, fake behavior, your families that they're involved with forcing child sex offender crimes, even women. Dozens of people from my town associated with New Britain Superior Court alone, Hartford courts, other courts, and their police and their families before the World Trade Center attack, military police, intercities involved with them through time, medical racketeering, foreign and domestic. This keeps them racketeering here and there. You're involved with psychology. You're involved with medical racketeering, right where the only locations, not by accident. Institute of Living was founded in 1822 on the campus of Trinity College. Now, these are also people that have roles with racketeering juxtaposed with their treatments of anthrax and of itchy things coming through the mail. Down the street from the Harriet Beecher Stowe house, Mark Twain house, is, I don't know if it's still there, the lawyer offices of Robert Chevery, a lawyer of Robert Luskin, former director of the FBI. Now he's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with people with Congress, involved with grammar schools, schools of each age in my city and intercities, especially tied to CCSU and to houses and people associated with on and off the state judicial branch offices, on and off the state prison offices. They're involved with all kinds of medical racketeering, identity theft, frauds, sequence racketeering, and positive racketeering. These are what only let these are hurting each age of fact keeping nature, worse than forsaken. I'm not just saying those things out of the theater at all. All you've heard is theater and anyone. And what they put the only responses that people that speak, and they have the sensibilities in relationship to the each online platform, each identity of the ground location, each age of fact keeping nature from off campuses, from off that database locations. All the stewards of those people are maintained criminally foreign influence. Where and how the overt criminal enterprises buy the same thing. The private ones originally still valued same thing. All having valued means, needs, natures to hide life progressions tied to these databases. Further and further uses of identity ground for this fact-keeping nature racketeering, evidence racketeering. Then they have to hide from it. They have to hide from the voices of innocent people they put in jail. People that were victims, maybe they did something wrong, victim predator, because they're involved with this trap. These are people, a whole bunch of different nations that fight and have all huge sanctions and penalties upon each other. We're all in that worse than semi-unsafe, forced, what they call peaceful, employed value nature system that never reached out to anyone. They told everyone to call it poverty while they were multi-front on each position of the human fact-keeping nature, like a president, no matter who gets in it. They're sequence racketeering. It's that simple. They also not just do this. They do misprision. The courts are involved with this. More World Trade Center racketeering. All we have to do is have free speech. They're more online racketeer. They have their Facebook pages of the Britain Superior Court as the ones involved with World Trade Center racketeering. Further, tied to other natures of wrongdoing and insidious things, like from inside the Ninth Circuit Court right before the World Trade Center attack. They had shown from inside the court post-dated documents to the court, to the panel of judges. So they ruled it was late. That was later proven. That had been right before the towers were taken away, hit, attacked. It had been leading up to that. Same ones, interstates from Connecticut. That was Manhattan. But these are the same ones, interstates from Connecticut, associated also foreign, and also other ways interstates. Whole bunch. That's how we're going to demonstrate this. See, but they're also preventing mandated law. They also pretended I tried to speak about these things. Where I only tried to. These are people that have been attaching me to fake conversations with people from my town that never were at all. And all exceptions recorded. They have two Mendez police put me in fake conversation with the older one, as their roles with recorded that were used to force a principle, and others with sexual, medical, and other natures of human trafficking, other natures of on off campuses, child abuses, identity abuses, time abuses. We have to educate our kids. We have to liberate them. We have to take over. We have to show. We have to train the branches of government that and how our founders had to leave slavery entrenched in this town into branch roles with it with other nations like Ukraine, like like Russia. They have collusion between Russians and Ukrainian Americans because they're involved with the interbranch. How many racketeering they have with medical together, with psychology, with this Leahy family forging names, switching names with dozens of people in the British Superior Court. They mess with kids positive. They have them in like sexual circles and stuff like that. They make them everyone speaking through others. They lock everyone criminally foreign influence. You know how many people they hurt through Connecticut courts? Originally, still worse than witch trials. Well, these are the people with passions and emotions online, dishonest, but there's no means to counter it. Oh, what do you care about online? Who are they? This is worse than extortion. So all the different identities of industries. These are identities of the ground locations. Now, CCSU, Central Connecticut State University, is involved with this since through time with child campuses intercities. With people associated with the former director of the FBI, with the interstates, also racketeering acts roles inside, outside of courts, leading up to them with the depositions, uses of the bar. Why should we not be able to demonstrate the physical delusions, the criminally foreign influence sequence racketeering of people that pretended integrity when they had treatments of even Jim Crow laws today, even logistical impositions today, let alone human value by and as the ones pretending to be of other, involved with already invested, needing to hide their defenses of their roles with all kinds of human, criminally foreign influence locations, areas, and states worse than just self-value. That's how they use them remote, leading up to the trade centers, not theories. They have recorded, confessed, and demonstrated Russians and Americans are agencies. They put me in fake conversations about agencies. These are people with this Leahy family, also with the co-defendants of former director of the FBI in a 2006 case involved with them, with Connecticut courts. Also, as the ones involved with all the confessions and demonstrated, recorded. Actually, Connecticut courts were used for racketeering before the World Trade Center. They had to hide that. They have military police associated with Eric Burgess, with a Justin Klavinskis, associated with deans of colleges and their family members. These are identity of the ground locations. Each age identities of sciences maintain criminally foreign influence to have that self-value, not just to have that self-value, not just to have that defended, not just to have the manifest treatments of positive treatments of identity as sick, fake righteous justice, and simultaneously as sick, fake care juxtaposed. Identity is the shared body of value we are. We don't. Only the extent of there is of how there is more tied to it. Two other identities of sequence nature. See, but we don't have what the ancients could just speak freely because we don't have free speech now. They steal our speech. Let just one teach free speech. So Connecticut, they have the Weathersfield police. He's got his daughter in the school, and he's got a whole bunch of people tied to the people that associated with the colleges like Central Connecticut State University, involved with racketeering with a whole bunch of other nations. Now I have the sources, but they're being coached for the sequence racketeering because the influences over the branches are distinct from, but they're also non-distinct from the same ones who influence them, like a Gill family. I don't know them. The only context I know them in, that it recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, they're involved also with the military and foreign and overt criminal enterprises and people on off CCSU employed intersciences from my town. I don't know the extent of what they, and other people, I don't know their names. The guy that lived across the street from them. They were directed to record things out of sequence, pretend things. That was also as people involved with racketeering leading up to the Trade Center attack. And then as their roles with racketeering leading up to in the 2006 case with former director of the FBI and with a whole bunch of his co-defendants associated with kids of my who went to my schools, who I had nothing to do with, tied to my neighbors, and who were in my schools too, and their extended family members then and now with the principal sex offenders campus, and with them with the interbranch with the police chief gone years ago, his people tied to him, and the one now for year with further with the principal sex offenders campus then and now. They told them to lie about what is actually recorded on the phone. Now, a Chris Walters recorded confessed a Spada family is involved with them and with AT&T, with the judges too. These are for a whole bunch of ways, foreign and domestic. Everyone's speaking through others. These are also a Kerr family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with dozens of people at New Britain Superior Court, forging names, switching names. They're lying about what is recorded on Facebook with Facebook. Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, a John LeConte, a Thaddeus Grabowski, two Mendez police, recorded and confessed and demonstrated. A whole bunch of people with the Delafair family, recorded, confessed, demonstrated with judges involved with racketeering with these Spada family. Then there's a whole bunch of sisters. Then everyone's gonna hate me. So, but if I say nothing, they're gonna keep doing the same thing. Criminally foreign influenced. They're like database racketeering, but the vetting of of who's honest, who's not, by pretending people had conversations that never were. They have people have walk up, make confessions, make loaded questions, lie about answers, attach that to totally fake things. A whole bunch of people associated on and off Fox Connecticut News, on and off WFSB, with racketeering with Old Weathersfield. Through time, involved with databases, that is intercampuses, and is further with even sexual and medical juxtaposed because their treatments are positive too. Time. So we have fake justice. They attach people to fake behavior, fake yelling, forging names, switching names. Whole families working in the triages with psychology. They direct people to with passions and emotions online to identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering with the courts. Dozens of people from my town involved with all kinds of criminal foreign influence acts, and their act as they're actually recorded natures, criminally legalized, exploited, criminally legalized, and how having been used remote as roles through the other natures of racketeering, and they have physical delusions too. Too long with our psychology experts, sick fake sides. Then what do they have to do? Pretend to be about positive. So they pretend to care against things. What is actually recorded must be discerned. Now one has learned. So further, we have them using racketeering method of if someone reports what's actually recorded, they use crime methods of speaking to people that know them, and then attaching everyone to fake words, fake conversations with me, my own family. I caught them dead cold with this. Untimely deaths. They know what's actually recorded on and off campuses. Each year, and in it, consciously, they've been preventing me from reporting things. They've been preventing others. They don't realize it. They just coach. They have our sides in collusion already. They were locked into value treatments. They used each department of CCSU with a whole bunch of people on Church Street involved with Wethersfield town offices, Intercities town offices, a DeMoro family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with foreign and domestic families, with the libraries, and with his roles with judges, with racketeering, with Town Line Drive. Tony DeMoro also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated other foreign and domestic families involved there with racketeering, with wire crimes, AT&T, with courts that make people pretend passions and emotions in context where they're doing wrongdoing and overt racketeering and so they could sequence shift, so they could use the courts further and further to pretend falsified police reports into databases, human trafficking acts, switching officers' names to ones that weren't even there, intercities, involving all these different departments and families associated with the racketeering acts, with what started as a promise to appear, not by accident. These are people involved with that then and now, further and further with abuses of each age of fact cheating nature. How many people have been asking me for help in relationship to the people that are at? See, the colleges don't realize because everyone's speaking in the background. Because we have the FBI, we have military families, we have state police, we have judges' families, people associated with them like Dr. Shub of Modern Languages, his wife, his kids, involved with racketeering with the agencies on off WFSB's locations. It's nothing personal. WFSB reported, confessed, demonstrated. They're told to pretend to believe it's personal when I say that. They attach me to fake locations, fake words, fake ties to other people. They've been preventing me from reporting things that are recorded tied to the interstates, World Trade Center attack, racketeering, from inside and outside those locations, like the Ninth Circuit Court right next to it. See, but we don't have fake news is real, and so we have locations, areas, and states that these are they already having not worse than self-value. That the defense is a means to defend all that they are involved with, while they're pretending to be integrity by just locking people away. Now you know how sick that is to be locked in a box, especially even if people did things wrong. They're keeping these outcomes. These people I'm talking about in Wethersfield, Connecticut, that they brought up, and this is interbranch, intercities through time. I just remind the whole bunch of ways this is tied to Washington D.C. with a whole bunch of fake integrity natures. associated with intermilitary too. Recorded involved with identity thefts, frauds, and evidence racketeering we're involved with this here. Whole bunch of people tied to a Dillon family. Whole bunch of people tied to a Schedule family. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated further involved with with the people, Phil Cololo, these two Mendez police, people associated with water locations, like in Middletown, used by our side's roles. Now, a whole bunch of federal criminals recorded, confessed, demonstrated are involved with crime methods where that the crime acts in where how it was proven through time that our nations have agencies that are already in collusion with these, already exploiting for actual reasons, already involved with evidence racketeering with the overt criminal enterprises, with private ones originally still, breaching method employed. Oh boy! So we have to have mandated law followed. So I'm Wethersfield schools confessed, demonstrated, and reported they're being coached to attach little kids and adults to fake conversations, fake locations through time. Whole bunch of people forging names and switching names. Uses of the name McGee. Involved also with Rocky Hill campuses, policing, teachers, and students, also with Wethersfield parks and on and off all locations, like voting locations, like database relationships, like fire departments. Now there's a former Mayor Gold and his family. Also, I never had a conversation with them. I explained the exceptions on. She tried to pretend I had a conversation with him. I never was. She's one of the people that put people involved with acting finite lies and illusions to pretend people with fake locations through time, evidence racketeering of roles. And now these are also people associated with Jewel and with putting those businesses and their roles with corners, uses of perception as the only counters to crime. That which keeps each location, area, and state criminally foreign influence incapable of connecting nature's identity of value progression to its identity of relationship to itself that is self-generating, also positive unto itself, showing as evolution's fruits and gifts reveal. Evolution using the identity ground location. That's not poverty. This isn't. This is. This is. This is a semi-ancient trap. Someone must rap. This isn't science. We have to. We have vicious uses of passions and emotions faked by the branch of the government reported every day on CNN. Reported, confessed, and demonstrated. Kept victims, but consciously roles pretending integrity to positions, relationship to what we have to pretend. This is where they're using the identity of each modern nation to pretend their integrity, where logic is everywhere it is, capable and needing to use ratiocination, not criminally foreign influence, not delusions raw, in relationship to what is going to cause evolution's fruits and gifts. And this uses identity ground. What pretends other tries to counter other has which tries to counter other has right there with its arms around it. pseudo healthcare, pseudo education, tactical pseudo education, not just for the so everyone to defend that, for uses of that manifest, styles pretending other, all victim predators, victims but predators. That's what forgiveness is for. About we're why and how we don't have free speech because everyone's pretending they're righteous. Everyone pretending they don't understand what people say. Himini pray. So it's not who gets elected. They're forging names, switching names, lying about what is actually recorded, and making things up and attaching people to fake locations through time in connected ways. Same ones who've been doing that since right before the Trade Center attack, as the ones interstates connected. So this is against me. This is against other people. I don't even know, but they approach me because we have people that pretend to perceive things and have things acted. So when later things come up before courts, they can have them pretending to perceive things. Or that's what they already use remote. Each individual grouped it together. That's recorded. We have to have mandated law followed because they lie about what's recorded in courts. They have a whole methods to it recorded. They have been lying about it. They forge names, switch names. They make confessions, have people stick more fake things in there. They were already before that involved with racketeering with each age of fact cheating nature. Women leaders roles still with child offenders right through administrations, not by accident. Tied to the judges involved with a whole bunch of sisters and stuff like that, with boyfriends, with a whole bunch of brothers and stuff like that. Human trafficking, human identity thefts, frauds, roles, sequence racketeering roles. That's what's actually recorded. They're pretending these are people involved with racketeering here and there. Our nation's making conspiracy theories, pretending people have conspiracy theories while they're stacking more and more fake things into databases. They already used AT&T for this. This is a database. It's nothing personal. AT&T. I'll sign so you can. It's not you're a victim, but don't stay victim predator. Get me a response. Get me a response for these judges associated with the Spada family, also military, like the Schedule family, and like a Chris White, and like this Delaferro family with judges with them, with child offenders, doctors, forging names, switching names, on off media locations, on off fire departments, on off campuses of each age. They're involved with database racketeering, switch identity thefts, frauds, sequence racketeering, uses of the sensibilities of our criminally foreign influence branches of government, delusions wrought at the same time, sequence racketeering natures, follow mandated law. They've been lying about what's recorded on Facebook. They have the Facebook page of the campuses further involved then and now with child sex offenders, medical too, how they have the women judges roles with that. They invested them to uses of their identities. Now they can't. They have to pretend other by sequence racketeering, by valuing the racketeering acts recorded standing in the database is still tied to the proven post-dated documents from inside the Ninth Circuit too. Same ones involved from Connecticut interstates with that. Also with Washington. This is a whole bunch of ways with other natures or roles with female and male psychologists attach me to fake locations, fake conversations, fake perception, and per their roles with sexual, medical, all kinds of influences. All these people, locations. Those. So let's go. I want a response for the rest of the. They've been coaching the people with the phones of the schools. They had some guy called me back a whole bunch of times. Then I called. I heard the message. Then there's the other message. I responded to the next message. This is a since proven principal sex offender. But then and now, they hid what was recorded with that and confessed by others involved with that, by everyone involved with that. There were rape threats and uses of New Britain Superior Court's Facebook page with that, as their roles with passion crimes, because they were crime recorded with, they were recorded what I was recording a pattern of, with the confessions tied to courts. I didn't know it was tied to Robert Luskin yet, but it's recorded, proven, demonstrated. It's tied to Robert Luskin, further involved also with people associated with a Joshua Julian, who I also had nothing to do with, and recorded and confessed and demonstrated, associated with other people, dozens of people at New Britain Superior Court through time, involved with the worst natures of crimes, with the worst natures of criminals, through their roles with other natures of racketeering. They have victims advocates recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with racketeering with child sex offenders cliques, further involved with racketeering with them, medical racketeering, mail crimes, wire crimes. They crime methods where they send the police to the people's houses with false, that police department's already involved with racketeering acts, forging names, switching names, rape threats, lying about people's behavior, lying about what people say. I caught them dead cold. I explained online too. They know it's real. When they're lying, they're caught dead cold into branch. These are people also involved with the transition from ACA to RICO, with the same ones involved with all these other nations, overt criminal enterprises, different like Los Solitos, Italian ones, with the stewards of the witness protection program, also recorded, demonstrated, and confessed, involved with the people with the on off the network locations, involved with them. People timed placements of ads by companies involved further with the a Joe Aiello recorded, confessed, a whole bunch of people tied to him recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. He confirmed he's involved with them with racketeering with judges and with prosecutors and with identity thefts, fraud, sequence shifts, and with campuses of each age connected through time. Their families are involved with racketeering uses of fire departments, of on off Trinity College, on off CCSU. Now you have to try to note the sequence shifts too, because these are also investigators who are pretending to do legitimate tests on things or whatever per them, per what is actually recorded in like 2004. Since I was a kid with kids from people from my age, but I never was there. They pretended me to fake locations. They had people on off Trinity College, on off CCSU, whole bunch of state police retired and standing their family members, other generation of it. These are people involved with evidence racketeering that is on off campuses of each age, keeping everyone knaves, keeping each identity a victim, a certain kind of victim predator that is used remotely, originally and still. It is recorded that no one honestly, I mean that and how it's never allowed countered, how people use identities of titles and jobs like police. They are recorded from off their locations, from former director of the FBI down, from Weathersfield Police, whole bunch of Weathersfield Police, the Morrows, a Kerr family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with them with racketeering, with military, and with foreign and domestic. I don't know them. Those are people that they sought to make confessions out to me. Then they can't pretend other people. They've been pretending other in databases with people that went to private schools. That people that lived on all sides of the schools that they involved with identity theft with this, well, a whole bunch of people with this former Mayor Gold, also with the families further involved with the child offenders, how they have the forensics locations involved with it, state police involved with that, mental health care doctors, and various natures of courts involved with racketeering acts with their patients and criminals before they were there. And since that's they forced a principal sex offender with what not to tell on other ones worse than him, and or differentially, that's also tied to the Spider family and to people all along routes like Walker Hill Road, that Chris Walters. Now the reason they had them people make those confessions to me is because those are the people involved with human trafficking, of with racketeering with judges and with prosecutors that pretended me to fake locations with them when I was a kid. They have people involved with racketeering all along routes with them. Like he recorded, confessed, and demonstrated town line, an old town cafe. Whole bunch of people like with the area around there recorded, confessed, and demonstrated associated with DACA, associated with racketeering with other nations, with overt criminal enterprises too, with private ones. That's what American history is. Why? See what we we have only fake passions and emotions because we have the identities of each branch of government brought into a gang. That is the same one that keeps the overt criminal enterprises victim predators too, in collusion, kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite, active, progressive lies. The roles with how used for sequence shifts, how used to pretend passions and emotions in relationship to that, pretend they met someone before they did, pretend people to fake locations, and then that makes it look like that. So they also have like on off Lowe's, on off Home Depot. There's a detective Dylan. He's associated with my new and past neighbors, with some judges, and with some prosecutors involved with untimely deaths, and with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering, wild crime, mail crimes, uses of their Facebook page, interbranch, intercampuses, to hide their live progressions, and their racketeering actually recorded with databases as ones from Connecticut to branch and their families involved with this, and then leading up to the trade center as the overt criminal enterprises involved. There's a Joey Quest recorded, confessed, demonstrated, and people that use that name associated with Fred Grisey also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, involved with the police chiefs, with human trafficking, all kinds of sick things with kids, and with CIA and with FBI and with other federal criminals racketeering together through time. Now, this is why they need to pretend their integrity in relationship to hundreds of nations sick the same way, sickly distinctly though. So they value, and then they defend what they value, how their treatments of integrity, that there is none. The perfect world doesn't follow mandated law. So we need injunctive relief. We're going to start with artistic reliefs, because the bar itself, delusions wrought and criminally foreign influence, and pretending that's not evidence. How people have have evaluation of what is proper evidence or not in relationship to what they call scholarly. Those are from off those positions sickly distinctly, effectively maintain criminally foreign influence uses of the identities of each business, each identity of campus, each body of value treatment that unfolds. Those courts, those police forms, those political families, they are recorded distinctly, non-distinctly, and grouped how having been kept and how being kept, needing to hide the same finite, active, progressive lies, identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering roles. Whole bunch of people with this former Mayor Gold and with other politicians of all levels. Not like him, but he's a big. This is the guy. This is the guy we have to get. Come on now, Mr. Larson. I don't know what it was. There were some resource officers, and they recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. No, I already handed in my project on it, my video project about them selling drugs and identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering. I can explain it better now. But see, they hid that. They hid their racketeering and roles with drugs with people on all sides of the high schools that went to private school. That's right. Those are people on all sides of the middle school too. Further with the principal sex offenders campus then and now roles to Mendez police, racketeering with police equipment, pretended they had a conversation with me tied to this. Never had a conversation with the older Mendez brother in my life. I heard his name through someone else. He smiled, walked by, so I would know who his name was. So I would say that. And so because these are people involved with identity theft frauds. People on Anthony Yagman, he also recorded. He has two brothers and family members and neighbors of his involved also with identity theft frauds, racketeering with Leahy, with doctors, various doctors involved with them with drugs of all kinds, with agencies involved with them with racketeering, whole bunch of natures of a bondage. Now these are people also that's right around the corner from the Samuel Dix house. That's but next to the high school entrance. That's right across the street from the middle school. Now he's involved with the principal sex offenders campus near me. Some woman with red hair, her daughter plays soccer. Associated with people on and off, like CCSU has roles with the leaderships of prisons that they have involved with what they call legitimate undercover, but it's not legitimate. It was criminally foreign influence legitimate and exploited that way, as is actually recorded. See, where they have used crime methods into branch, forging names and switching names, misspelling names, making confessions, uses of the time to more and more attach racketeering acts against who tries to connect correlations means with sequence true. And by the identity of valuable progression of sciences, that is the identity the sciences share differentially, sequentially. Sequentially, though, to their shared equal value gain, positive or negative, though. Equality. So, thank you for coming out this evening. So, please give me a response. Please give me a response. See Renaissance. So, elections, Weathersfield elections, Weathersfield town offices, Weathersfield's fire department. There's a Inspector Mike, and there's a Chris Walters, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Other people that pretend to be Chris Walters, I don't know what associated with Wethersfield town offices and with elections locations and on off religious locations, and as people involved with further medical racketeering, on off with agencies, on off the post office, on off the middle school, on off the libraries, on off the on all sides of the high school. He's involved with racketeering with families in my area, involved with them with New Britain Superior Court with dozens of people, further with the principal sex offenders campus. A Spada family, also a Scalora family, and also identity thefts, frauds, racketeering acts rolled with Wethersfield interbranch, intercities, intercampuses through time. And these are people involved with interstates, with the World Trade Center racketeering, with the uses insides, outsides of courts. Their roles offensively preventing anyone from telling because they were already involved with racketeering with all these other nations, like Russians, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with all the racketeering. We have all kinds of military involved with the ones with this Dillon family, and with the houses they used criminally with their narratives, and with the businesses they used criminally with their narratives. They're 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 recorded, confessed, and demonstrated their coaching and people of modern pastry to collusion with the human trafficking crap. Way worse. Intercampuses, database relationships, people working in relationship to it. Only that is allowed. And that's in collusion with what is intercities worse than interstates, kept needing to hide live progressions. Now, this is through East Hartford through time too. That's why they had to hide. That's why they had to bring all these East Hartford police involved with a detective Samuda, pretending he was arresting Officer Me. Ford switched names with a Officer Magnanos, which is distinct from Manos. But Officer Magnanos also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involvements also with others, with a Scalora family, with Russians, and with people on and off CCSU campuses and roles with campuses intercities, and with other nations like Puerto Rico, involved with medical racketeering, with like the Scalora family, with Wethersfield police and judges and prosecutors involved with them, with untimely deaths, with human trafficking, identity thefts, identity frauds, roles with a house in my area per a Bob Chase too. Per Bob Chase, a Phil Clow is involved with them with falsified police reports and various natures of their physical delusions and of their roles with identity theft, frauds, roles, racketeering with the principal sex offenders campus, and further then and now. Those are also people, the same families involved with uses of that location since before that guy worked there, Bob Chase. They were involved with also racketeering uses of the transition from ACA to RICO, of the transition into the Patriot Act treatments. They left out all this. They left out the remote uses of them since before electronic definitions of remote. Paul Kelly with the Air Force. Please respond. You also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with people from on off Trinity College and CCSU involved with evidence racketeering and with identity thefts and frauds and with these on off campuses crimes with child offenders. Now these are also people involved with elderly homes criminally, same ones, not by accident. So vaccines.